This is Jen Wexler, director of The Ranger, and you're watching Without Your Head.
All right, and we're live here on Facebook. I'm Nasty Neal.
I'm Treacherous, Trista.
And this is the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head, and we're joined by the fine people here of Driven. We have the director, Glenn Payne.
Hey, everybody.
We have the stars of Driven, as well as a writer, Casey Dillard.
I want a cool name. Can I be like Carnivorous Casey or something?
Definitely
That's
can.
a great one.
Okay.
I am in full support of this.
Gangrene Glenn.
All right.
And the wretched Richard just stepped out for a moment, it looks like.
Oh, man, Wretched Richard, he's already out. I gave permission to leave if he got sick of us, but I didn't think it would just take, 10 seconds. Like this. Yeah, I'm not improving of this this intro. But anyway, it's good to have everybody here. I've talked to Casey and Glenn before, but never in video.
Yeah, just a little over a year ago.
Yeah. Thanks for having us again.
Yeah, definitely. So for people who didn't listen to the last one, what inspired the story of Driven?
I thought it would be a fun idea to make a movie that took place in or around a single vehicle. I thought that could be kind of a cool, different way to tell a story. And I, as I've probably said before, I think I mentioned to Casey, I thought it would be easy, which was very foolish. But then we both kind of made two different pitches, two different basic ideas for what a story in general could be. And then we had a couple friends kind of vote on them, and she won. Much as my ego takes a hit for saying so. Hers was better. And then Casey, maybe the story itself, that's all you.
Yeah, so I think that sometimes having parameters helps my writing, maybe. So once I had the idea of they need to be in or near this car the whole time, that helped out with a lot of the writing, because I had to have a reason for them to be in a car, a reason for both of them to stay in the car, and like what makes two people in a car feel compelling. And so just sort of wrote around that.
You said about the problems of actually shooting in the car, and so you can talk. I would think keeping it interesting, and also what I noticed this time watching it again, I think the lighting is to have it lit and realistically lit.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really challenging too, because you're inside a box essentially, and you can get light in there, but you can only do so many things. So that was a big challenge to Michael Williams, our DP, and the rest of the lighting team, camera department. So they did an awesome job coming up with little gags and ways to have light in there. And I had some stuff built in that I knew I wanted to do, like the red light of the sign for a more intense scene, and brake lights, and trying to come up with ways for it to vary from scene to scene and shot to shot, so it didn't become stiff or stale as much as possible in a way, and working with kind of the limitations of the budget we had, to do things that felt like they belonged together visually.
Mm-hmm. Richard, since you're here back, what interested you in the movie?
Mm-hmm. The big fat paycheck. I mean, they came to the table with a number that I couldn't. What am I going to do? Walk away? What am I nuts? No, you know what? It was a great script. And I knew Glenn and Casey we kind of crossed paths a couple times at Oxford Film Festival, and in Oxford, Mississippi, and I liked them as people. They had made some really fun short films that I'd seen that were challenging and clever and interesting in various ways. And then I had a DVD of like all Glenn and Casey's greatest hits. So I'd seen a bunch of their stuff. And then so when they reached out, they said they had this script they wanted to give a read. And so, because I already knew them, we had a cordial relationship, I was like, that's no problem. When I read the thing, I just thought it was super clever. It's just a super well done movie. And, I get the idea of writing a movie that you can shoot, which is the challenge, right? And so been there, done that. You're writing for the confines of what you have access to and what you are able to shoot financially. And what they were able to do was create a story that never felt like it was hindered by their limitations. I know because we all talked about it and we're all filmmakers and we can talk about what those limitations are. But Casey's script was clever without having to be with an asterisk by it. The thing is clever. However, it's going to be a smaller movie. It didn't matter because the way they told the story, made the story on paper, it justified all the story you needed. It told the story she was aiming to tell and had the fun beats and plot moments and everything in the story. I just thought it was super well done, and it's so close to theater. And I know they have theatrical backgrounds. I love theater, and it was very much these two characters were, doing this in I don't want to say in a theatrical context. That sounds like it's big and broad, but I mean the way the characters are developed, the way the dialogue plays out, the way the scenes play out. This is not a Tony Scott chop up, bing bang movie. The story plays out through these conversations and these moments. They're very character driven. And for an actor, I mean, that's really why you get into acting. You get into acting so you can craft an arc and tell a story and have the give and take of well-written dialogue. And I thought it was all sitting right there. So to me, it was a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm. Well, for Casey and Glenn, why did you guys think, Richard was right for the role?
Only the person that would say yes.
Yeah, everyone else turned us down.
I was say. You're checking the boxes. You got to the S's.
Yeah.
Roger is such a specific character, I think, and you have to have somebody that can sort of hit all the beats. Like, number one, they're good at comedy. Number two, they understand where the comedy is coming from in Roger's case. They have to be like somewhat formidable and competent at what they're doing so that like we can sell the threat in the beginning and so that you can buy that he's been able to get by on his own in this mission for this long. But like you basically there's a lot of notes that you need to know that the actor can hit. And between like the two of us encountering him in various parts of his filmography, I think we kind of were pretty confident that he could do all of that, and we were right. So,
yeah. And when Richard, talked about kind of theatrical in the acting, I think since the whole movie's mostly basically the two of you, and you're also in a car a lot of times, so you're either like sitting next to each other or sitting behind each other. I guess like is that difficult to act where one person's in front of the other where you're not necessarily looking at each other?
I didn't find it so. No, I mean, because I think it's if you are committed to what you're doing, it's more like real life. You sit in the back seat, you talk to somebody in the front seat. I mean, it's how people communicate in a vehicle. So I never found that part challenging. I think Glenn's challenge was to create blocking, which he already talked about. You talked about it from the lighting and directing camera position, but there's also the actor blocking angle, which is like, what can we do with these two people so they're not constantly in these same seats the whole time? And within the confines of that car, we actually were able to mix it up a lot in terms of I'm right behind Casey, or I'm in the middle, or I crawl over, then she's behind me, and then she takes over then I drive for a hot second. So there's actually a lot of sort of clever use of that space for its limitations, but all of it felt real, because I think even in Casey, you could speak to this yourself, but it never felt unnatural to be behind you or in the back seat, because again, we all know what that feels like. We all know that position.
The only thing I didn't like was I personally had to like limit the amount of actual eye contact I could hold, because she would have to watch the road.
Right.
But that again, that's like life. I can't be having these like meaningful eye contact conversations with someone while I'm driving. So,
right,
it fit.
Yeah. How about the reflections? Is that something you had to watch out for? Make sure nothing shows up in the you don't see a camera in the windows.
Absolutely. But it worked out pretty well. I mean, anytime you involve glass at all, that's a problem. But I think it ended up being less of an issue than maybe expected, I suppose. And that's a lot of that's a testament to Michael, our DP, once again. He's really great at watching out for that kind of stuff and being really keen about any issues. And in some ways, we had more problems with like there's some parts of the movie where we faked that we were driving. So we were in kind of like studio setup, and they would be doing wherever there was like large, really large chunks of dialogue, several pages. We would try to do those indoors so they could just focus on that. And strangely enough, the biggest problem will be getting reflections from the building itself, the structure you're in, as opposed to like the camera or this or that. But yeah, and
I gotta call you out for that too. I mean, in a positive way. I think what they did with their fake driving was stunning. I mean, you did such a good job with your poor man's process. Again, I think Glenn and I talked about it because he knew that I worked on a TV show where we did that all the time. And so the difference is, what Glenn had access to versus what a TV production has access to. There's no comparison. He was building it from the ground up, and it looks so good. I mean, it was such a well done poor man's process, man. Like that, you should be really proud of that. You and Michael. That was a hell of an accomplishment.
Yeah, well, thank you. And that was my biggest concern with the whole movie. It's like, will that part work? Everything else is fine. It's like, it'll work. I know it'll work. It's like, never really done this thing before. So, and Michael was huge there. Like all the background lighting rigs of like a city in the distance, kind of out of focus and stuff like that. That was all Michael and the team and Laura and the rest of the gang putting stuff together.
Well, let's talk about the thankless job that someone had every night that we were in the studio that was just pushing the car to make it rock like it was driving.
That's too much rocking. That's not enough rocking. More rocking.
Rocking, and then the sisters Kinder or whoever was going back and forth with the shopping carts, just kind of rolling those lights back and forth.
We actually we had some for one scene. Actually, Rich, you weren't there for this one. This was the Jess scene. We had some. I guess fake plants, like tall fake plants that we put on the cart, and we would roll by the car out the window, so it looked like the trees
push past.
Yeah, it looked like we were coming to a stop. And then, because it cut to a location that very clearly had real trees right outside the window, and I think that was Michael again, coming up with a clever.
I like how we're not talking about the trick that didn't work in the Just scene, where we were going to try and. I think they were going to try and put her on a platform and dolly her away. But they missed the cue, so all the plants just floated away while she was still standing there, and that one was.
It was very trippy, very trippy
for me to watch.
That's hilarious.
Was that? Yeah. Was that one of the things that didn't work?
Yeah.
Chloe here in the chat, she says they're all awesome and made an amazing movie. My light just blew. I hope to see more projects, including them.
Thank you, Chloe.
Good.
I appreciate it a lot. I would love to work with these guys again as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Andre also says that she loves your yard.
Hold on 1 second. I got to take a kid question. Hold on a second. I'll be right back.
No worries.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Someone loves his yard.
Beth wants to know who has a pet bird. She can hear a bird.
I think those are the birds in Richard's yard, but I do have. Well, okay, you might have heard Orson just then. I'm down to one bird right now. And now he's getting attention, so he's making noise. So if you're lucky, you might get to hear him sing at some point. We'll see.
All right, very good.
And you'll suddenly have copyright issues.
Maybe.
With the music.
It's happened before, not yet on these live ones, but on some other videos. Really, very small. But, when you guys did the festival run, what was that experience? When you guys did the
festivals were good. We did a lot of regional festivals, and then I think we spoke to you when we were out west for Dances with Films.
Mhm.
That's right. Yeah.
The first time.
This place is haunted.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Yeah, I lost a lot of my light because there's suddenly just a huge cloud bank outside, but it's fine. I'm used to looking like
Well,
the person making threats from a dark cave.
we got to have a premiere in Oxford, which is cool because that's where we met Rich. And we thought Rich was going to be there, be able to be there, but he had a convention, I think, or something. But I think it got
And then
snowed.
it ended up getting snowed out anyway, so yeah. Womp womp.
Got to do Nashville, which was really cool, and several others. Fright Fest
Fright Fest.
was a huge delight. If
Mhm.
you guys have never been, which you guys very well may have been, I don't know, but man, it was amazing. I loved it so much. It was so
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at Fright Fest a few years ago, and like it's huge, and they have multiple screens, and there's people there that have tattoos of Fright Fest, and
Right.
yeah, people go and watch every movie, and which is hard to do there because they have, like I said, they have multiple screens, so you almost have to like leave a movie and go watch another movie.
And the guys in charge are so cool. Like,
Yeah.
Glenn can confirm this for me. Whenever we first got our acceptance to Fright Fest, like the email they sent was so nice that I was like, I think we're being catfished. I was like, I'm gonna have to do some work and make sure that this guy is legit.
Yeah.
And he was, so they just really are really cool people. But yeah, that one was a fun one.
Well, the fans there are so passionate, like they really
Yeah.
excited to be there. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen at other festivals, because it definitely does. But it was more of like basically everyone had that energy. You just kind of feel
Yeah.
the excitement to be there and watch stuff together. And it was very cool. Very, very cool.
Richard, it's good to have you back. Did you make any of the festivals? Or which festivals did you make, Richard?
When they came to Southern California, I went to one, which I'm not sure which one that was. Was that Holly Shorts or not Holly Shorts? Dances with Films.
Dances with Films.
Yeah. So I made it to that one, which was that I have no idea. Glenn and Casey are obviously doing these sort of behind the scenes festival stuff, so I didn't do any of that. But just being able to see the film at the Man's Chinese Theater in Hollywood was awesome because, I mean, you're never going to see it. At least I'm never going to see it on a better sound system, better picture. It projected great, looked great, sounded great. So that was really cool.
Yeah. When you're at the festivals, did you get any surprising reactions from anybody? Because I know sometimes when I'm at a festival, the filmmakers say like they didn't expect something to get a laugh or just something different.
I think most of the laughs that we got were where they were supposed to be.
Do you need to go
cover up a
parent?
bird.
You need to run and go parent as well?
Is that Frank?
I can take this with me. Yeah, fortunately, people have kind of been. They've definitely been on the same page as the movie. There are some things that have gotten bigger laughs than I expected, but that's always sort of a happy way to be surprised.
For me, I will say the one scene in the whole movie that I was most curious to see how it was going to play out after it was assembled was the one where Rich as Roger hops into the front seat because Casey's character is in the back, like sort of semi-knocked out.
And the driving?
The driving. So he drives off. I guess I shouldn't say too much, huh?
Yeah.
He drives, and I was like, "How's this going to play?" Because it was very much an assembled selection of shots with some music, but it actually worked really well. So it got a really good reaction. So that always makes me very happy.
Yeah, for sure.
Jana here wants to know, Jana Knowles, the scene in front of the aquatic center. Did you actually film the entire scene there, or were there only parts of it filmed there?
That was all in front of the aquatic center. When you hear us talk about like the night that was the worst as far as weather goes, that was the one. Because it's kind of in a big open area.
Yeah.
There's no trees, there's no hills. The wind is just coming straight through. It was awful. I felt terrible for our entity actors that were there that night.
Yeah, man.
Is that what you call them, entities?
Entities. Yeah.
For lack of a better.
Yeah, man.
if there's any chance that hell is very, very cold, that was sort of it, or like that was the near the entrance door or something.
Casey, I think this is a good time for you to talk about the headlamps Glenn wanted to shove in their mouths to make their night even worse.
Do you still have one of those lights by any chance?
Let me go look. I'll go parent a little bit over here.
All right.
There's no physical way that anybody can put one of those in their own mouth, and that Glenn was going to force his friends to stuff headlamps in their mouth.
I guess that implied that you weren't his friend, but
it's probably better that they're his friends as opposed to strangers. You don't.
Yeah, it was.
Well, it didn't matter unless they didn't have a lower jaw. Nobody was going to get that thing in their mouth. It's simply not going to happen.
If they could, they're in the wrong genre of film.
Exactly. And by the way, I'm so glad you said that joke because I was thinking it and wasn't going anywhere near it. So thank you for being the right person for the right joke.
I'm there for you. Yeah, I think he had this idea of like when the entities were passing from one body to another, that there would be this like bright beam of light. But
I got a headlamp. I'm going to get mine.
But then he bought these lights that like they were like this. They were like this size.
You're like, they weren't that big. Put your hands close to your face. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, a little smaller than that. See,
there's your screenshot, people. That's the one.
That's something to use as the thumbnail. Yeah.
We're indie filmmakers and we're making short films with no money for a long time. So you try to think of the cheapest way to do something cool depending on your story. And I was like, okay, cool. They get possessed.
It's also worth saying that we were very sleep deprived.
Yeah, okay.
That's much smaller.
That's not bad. Try it out.
Okay, now there's your thumbnail.
That ain't going back in there. You know what I mean? That once that crosses the 2 threshold, I'm gonna live with that. So your budget went real high for everybody when they had to have surgery. They had these headlamps removed.
You know what's so bad is that was the day that, like, other than Heather Roebuck, who had to go run a very important errand for the movie, everybody else went to get pizza before we shot that day. And I was scrambling, getting like props and stuff. And I went and bought some of those. Like I had to have them. So I spent all this time where I could have been hanging out and chilling. And instead I got something that we didn't even get to use. I had to return later.
Aww.
But we did return those, even though they partially went into my mouth. Because they made me try to prove that it would work.
No, we made you prove to yourself that it wouldn't work. We weren't getting to prove that it would work. Yeah. That was never the goal. At no point did we think we'd be going, egg on our face. That works great. Never gonna work.
I thought it'd be cool to have light, kind of, and then we could
I get the idea.
Yes, you're right. It would have
been great. Would have been very cool. Cool.
But Rich and Jamie did let me hit him with a leaf blower.
Oh, okay.
So that it was, wind. So troopers, man.
But what you ended up doing looked great. I mean, it's a funny story behind the scenes, but what you did worked, really well.
Yes, when given the choice between having to have a lamp surgically removed from their mouth or getting a leaf blower blasted in their face, they chose leaf blower.
I'm trying to rip off Edgar Wright from World's End, I guess.
That's kind of a smart way to get you to do something, though, because you ask someone to do something much worse, and then they'll settle to do something not so bad.
That was your starting bargaining point.
Yeah, why don't we just use the leaf blower instead? All
right, I'll remember that.
Cut off your arm, or just put a little blood in your hand.
All right. Rain Trower here wants to know, question for Casey and Glenn, who would you cast Rich as in Star Grassel Paranormal?
Oh, Staggrass.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. That's our ghost hunting mockumentary comedy on Amazon Prime. Rich, who would Rich be?
He would be like a fake psychic.
I think so.
Or a fake medium.
I knew you were going to say that. Thank you. And scene.
He could also be like, well, no, I guess if he was a wealthy guy from out of town getting what he wanted, that could be, that's not exactly Roger, but I guess that's sort of, yeah, we'll go with a fake medium. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Or like the guy that has a legit ghost hunting show.
Yeah. Who you find out was a con in the end the whole time.
Yeah, probably.
I love it. Great.
Either way is a dirtbag. Assume dirtbag.
We used to always
in the show.
We used to always talk about Rich getting you and Rob on the show at some point, as well as Morgan Freeman and some other people too.
Yeah, there were a lot of people.
Good luck getting Rob, but tell Morgan I say hi.
Trista, do you have a question? I'm sorry to take all the questions.
Yeah, Tristan.
No, it's okay. I don't have questions, but I have comments that you can extrapolate on if interested. So I don't know what I'm allowed to I'll tiptoe around things, and then if you feel like it's safe, we can talk more about it. Okay. But I feel like the film sort of set me up to believe one thing, and then I really fell for that hook, line, and sinker, and then I realized that it was another thing altogether.
The sort of the fake out with Roger's character in the beginning.
Yeah, I thought that
good.
Was effective.
That's good. Yeah, that's good news. Yeah.
That is.
So what, Casey? Just playing with storytelling and misdirection, sort of keeping on your.
Just a little fun with misdirection and also sort of starting out their relationship on a bad foot so that they can grow from there. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, it doesn't get much worse than this, so thinking that someone's going to attack you.
I remember
kind of they did.
I think it was in the script, Casey, and this is vaguely in the trailer, so I guess we can say it, but like the duct tape, the tape usage.
Yeah.
For your character and like getting, latching you to the steering wheel. I was like, well, is that really going to work? I was like, I don't know if that's really logical. That makes much sense. And then I think when you guys did it, it like worked extremely well, like right out of the gate for real.
Yeah,
I know. And I remember, I think we all three had that conversation of, how's this going to work? But it worked.
Yeah.
Oh, I was not a part of the "is this going to work" conversation because that was actually like something. I think that was something that happened to an actual rideshare driver that I read about in an article. Like somebody like found them on the side of the road, like duct taped to their steering wheel, and they had a passenger rob them. So I was pretty confident that if real criminals could do it, then a fake one could. So.
Yeah.
Based on a true story.
Yes.
Yeah. Were you ever going to use a real rideshare name in the movie?
Nah.
Oh man,
can't afford it.
Yeah. Your budget.
Where did this stuff come from about you being a stand-up? Because it's not necessarily a big part of the movie, but I think it adds a lot to flesh out the character.
I wanted her to have an interest, obviously outside of what she was doing, that she was scared to pursue. And I wanted it to kind of be something that her job with rideshare could inform a little bit. I don't do much stand-up these days, but I have in the past, and definitely you take a lot of notes from your job that you're working so that you can afford to pursue the thing that you want to do. And I was like, so there you go. We can see her trying to like hone her jokes and her crafts and everything. And plus, I could have tried to make her a singer, but then we would have had to have music to use and things like that. So it just made more sense, the stand-up part.
Yeah.
I thought it was a clever device. I mean, because then you could sort of provide commentary for the first, the way you did the opening structure of the first act of the film, or the sort of the beginning of the movie. That was a clever way of getting to know you through your pursuit of this career while you're commenting on the life you're currently living and people in their car and stuff. That was really clever.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I feel like as the audience instantly has empathy for you because we're understanding like your struggle, So I thought that was very effective too.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And the score is great, and I think that's important in any movie, but I think especially a movie like this because it adds a lot of attention to the scenes. What's going to happen? Oh, let's get some audio coming in here. So who did the score?
That
Matthew
was
Steed?
yeah, Matt Steed, who lives in Birmingham. He did an excellent job, and we didn't know Matt before the film, but he reached out to us along with quite a few other people. But he was so freaking talented.
Yeah.
And he just nailed it, and I gave him all my chicken scratch, tons and tons of notes of what I was thinking, and I talked to Casey a lot about that stuff too, and he just nailed it like right out of the gate,
Yeah, and I would say that Glenn and I are both appreciators of music, but we're not musicians, we're not songwriters, so we can't speak the language of music necessarily. He's really good at taking like our sort of layman's terms and translating it into what we were looking for in any given scene. And that made that process much, much easier.
Beth says she's crying at Glenn's Birmingham accent.
Birmingham.
There's a little bit of delay in.
Good job.
I thought it worked.
Good job, Glenn.
Yeah.
What a hustle.
So what's the feedback been like, because originally it's, festival scene and then video on demand and now it's on DVD. So, more and more audiences get to see it.
Surprisingly positive. Like, I like the movie, obviously, but I'm a biased source.
I like it too.
And I feel like for one thing, all good things are not for all good people. Some people just aren't going to like your movie. And the more people to see it, the greater the odds are that they're not. But like, I don't know. We haven't gotten as much, I guess, I don't even know what to call it. Backlash doesn't seem like the right word, but it's the only one that I can think of as I was sort of bracing myself for. I'm going to knock on some wood right quick because I definitely don't want to like bring that down upon my head. But it seems to connect with people and they're having fun with it. And that's what we wanted. So like for me personally, I've been really, really happy with the reception that it's had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there's some reviews and I try to read the ones that I see come across Twitter and everything I've been seeing is very positive, and it's interesting, Casey, you commented on one of them where essentially the review summation was, I'm surprised I didn't hate this, or so, like it was like I really enjoyed this, which is not what I expected. You're like, thanks, but
I went in really wanting to hate this movie, but
I love winning over non-believers.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I personally think that when you get low budget movies, you expect a low budget movie. And I think low budget movie means different things to different people. What low budget movie doesn't have to mean is poor story structure, poor storytelling, and poor elements, meaning bad focus, bad picture, bad lighting, bad sound. The film doesn't fall into any of those traps. So I think that's if there's any surprise element, it's that it kind of checks every box successfully. Mm-hmm. And I think that makes people go, wow, I don't necessarily know the people involved in this movie, including that ass on the cover. But when I watch the movie, I go,
have we released the ass cover already? I thought we were hanging on to that one till.
No, Glenn wanted a soft opening. If you know what I mean. Anyway, I think that is one of those things where it succeeds, and I attribute that has nothing to do with me. That's solely based on all the work Glenn and Casey did and the team they surrounded themselves with, because anything that could have made this thing feel, well, they had to cut that corner. You never feel it. You never feel the constraints on the screen. And so you watch the movie and you enjoy the story. And you enjoy the character arcs, and you enjoy the thrills, and you enjoy all the beats in the story without ever thinking that they're, like I said at the beginning, that there's a caveat to it all, because there's not.
Yes, someone here in the chat, I just it scrolled by, but they said that they watch a movie with someone who didn't have any knowledge of it beforehand, like they did, and they loved it. And
Oh, that's
now
good.
a lot of people are demanding the ass cover.
Wow, that didn't take long. Good job, Rich.
A lot of people demanding that ass cover. There's a whole other section of people who are feeling the very opposite.
All right,
By the way,
sound off
Glenn,
in the
did you
comments.
do-
Let's take a poll.
Yeah.
Free the ass
On the behind the
All right.
scenes stuff, which I have not seen the DVD behind the scenes stuff, but you put behind the scenes
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So do you show any of you doing the
You're gonna say ass stuff?
stuff? No, the poor man's processed car stuff. Did you show any of that?
Yeah, a little bit, but it's mainly like the camera's kind of on the two of you or one of you, and it might tilt over just for a hair, and you'd see Heather or John or somebody pushing it. I don't think we have any like straight up. Well, there's photos though. There's photos.
Yeah, the problem with a skeleton crew is that you don't get as much behind the scenes footage as you'd like, because
Yeah.
everyone's always doing something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so 100%. There's nobody just going like,
Yeah.
I think I'll dink around and take some shots.
Yeah.
No, you'll make lunch.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it went.
Yeah.
One thing with the film, talking about reactions and since it's come out, is this is a movie that definitely kind of touches on different genres, whether it be horror or thriller or comedy, or as somebody called it recently, rom-com, which is my new favorite genre.
That's interesting, actually. I like
That's
that.
funny.
I forget who said that. Yeah, so, and you guys, you obviously deal with a lot of horror films and horror fans. And so this is a movie that is in that world, but depending on what somebody wants from their horror film, there's not there's not buckets and buckets of blood necessarily. So whenever we were doing festivals and genre festivals, you're kind of like, well, what's the reaction going to be? Like, are they going to kind of run us out of town, or not? And I mean, I was delighted that at all those festivals and stuff that we played at that were sort of genre festivals, they seemed to really, enjoy. Maybe didn't have everything they were looking for. Maybe it did. I don't know, but they seemed to come out of it really enjoying the fun ride element, which is what we'd hoped for. So that was, I guess you could say, a pleasant surprise or just a pleasant outcome that I was pretty happy about.
Yeah.
That's what I personally like about festivals. There's a lot of movies that either don't fit in any genre or multiple genres that might not play somewhere else, and there's an audience for those kind of movies at the festivals. But Did that ever come up when you're submitting it to any of the genre festivals? Like maybe someone did say like it wasn't horror enough. I know you guys played a lot of festivals, so maybe it didn't come up.
I think if it wasn't, they just didn't accept us.
Right. They didn't tell you.
Yeah. And it's funny. I don't know if Casey, we've talked about this, and we have mentioned like some of Edgar Wright's movies, just because he does sort of horror comedies or comedy horrors or thrillers or whatever. With a few of his films, is that it seemed to really hit overseas. Like maybe they're more in tune with that subgenre than other places. I don't know.
Valerie says, lack of blood and explicit violence was great on my side, since most of my friends who aren't into horror are open to watch Driven and liked it because of good horror thriller, but it doesn't overwhelm you.
Oh,
Hey, Val.
yeah, that's good.
Hey, Val.
Yes.
Oh, is this Twitter, Val?
I think so.
Yeah. So if it looks like I'm looking at my phone, but I'm actually just trying to find the questions because it's not scrolling on
It's
my phone.
okay. I was looking at my phone earlier, but I had a friend who almost never calls me calling, so I was briefly concerned. Hopefully they're fine.
Noah says, I hope there's a sequel in the works, or you will work again with Richard on something.
I like both of those ideas.
I don't want a sequel.
So here's the deal. Casey doesn't want a sequel, and I would make a sequel if they don't ride around in a car, if they get out of the car. I would not do it in a car.
All right.
Wait, I lost you. What did you say, Glenn? You say you do a sequel if what?
As long as you guys are not in a car. There could be
Driven
no
too,
car.
but there's no car.
Yeah.
Or make her drive a convertible or something where you can be easier to shoot.
Well, Casey, we joke about this a lot. And Casey is like, I don't want to do a sequel, which is totally fine and cool. But then she mentioned some possible story plot a couple of days ago, and I was like, ha.
Wait, what did I do?
Oh,
Yeah, you did.
You were talking about seeing Emerson do stand up and
Was I altered?
I mean, yeah. Let's just go. With
Well, don't listen to me then. Why? Delete that.
What else did she say? Well,
Yeah, I was about to say. Wait.
Right? I was like, that's a good idea. I love that you're planting seeds in my head for a minute.
No. That was. I think that was answering Rain's question for the website of just what I thought like Emerson's life was like post movie, and like how did I see her stand up going? And I wasn't talking about a sequel.
No, you were. You don't remember. You were.
Something I want to mention was about Roger's character is like his whole like inspiration. Really, he's like he has like demonic guilt, like his family, did this thing, and now he's trying to make amends for that. So, when you were writing that, was that like a big part of like the character?
Yeah, Roger is I think the mailman's here. Sorry. I think Roger is just sort of a better person than the rest of his family. Like he obviously has the same privileges and everything that they do, but to him, it's ultimately not worth it. And that was a big part of sort of who he was as a character. There's even a line, and maybe I ruined it by like throwing in an extra joke, but like the fact that he sort of made the decision not to start a family because he knows that like more Ostrens, that's his last name, means more demons. Like that's a big deal. That's a big sacrifice for a person to make. And that's sort of when Emerson starts softening towards him a little bit, is when he says that. Like I said, I think it kind of gets lost in the joke perhaps that is made in that scene, but yeah, I think that he feels like even if it's not something that he personally set in motion, like he has a lot to atone for, and he's out there doing the work to do that. And I love that about that.
I'm defending your joke. I don't think it gets lost in the joke, because I think the joke is Roger's not aware of the joke. You know, it's not a joke that he's making. It's a joke, like he's telling his honest story, and you have the you don't say moment.
Yeah.
But so I think the audience through Emerson can comment on that ridiculousness, but I think he actually is stating what your point is, which that he actually is intent on doing more harm than good, by vice versa, doing more good than harm.
Right.
So Rich, when do you, and Casey, you can answer this after if you want, when do you think Roger, even as a kid or whatever, noticed that he and his family were getting some weird benefits to life, and when do you think he didn't feel okay about that? You can it's fine.
I was going to say your question, and a good one, would be better served delivered to an actor who does backstory work and puts time and effort into the character development. But Benedict's busy, so you got me.
Yeah, we know. He told us.
I know. After the fifth no, he's like, try Speight. I always, it's not to go political on the whole thing, but you look at Roger's character, and if you strip away the comedy and the joke and the story of the demons, it's this classic trust fund kid who realizes that his parents were using, child labor in a foreign country to make their very profitable items, and that guy sets forth to unravel that, and in so doing brings the corporation to crumbling to his knees, and stockholders get mad at him, but he's done the moral good. And so I always feel like it would be Roger in his older years when he has that revelation, in his 20s, when he's outside the mansion, going to Princeton and studying and meeting people outside the sort of little bubble he lives in, and that's when you would figure it out, when you would see somebody's stock not do well, and you're like, oh, that's weird, our stocks always do well. And when you'd see somebody's entrepreneurial effort stumble. You're like, that's weird because every idea we have succeeds. And then you would start digging deeper and doing all the research that led him to enter this movie. But you got to figure it's decades of work for him to undig this, because it wouldn't be anything they would offer up.
Yeah.
Anybody in his family, because they like the perks of the situation.
There's your Baby Roger movie.
Rain brought
Very
up part 2 could be on a tandem bike, which I think is a good idea.
It doesn't make sense. Makes perfect sense.
Right. Ridden will be the
Ridden.
Yeah.
At that point, we're just doing the Great Muppet Caper, which I'm all for. So let's do it.
All right.
So many dolly shots, Casey.
Yeah.
So many dolly shots.
Oh, never mind. I canceled it. The sequel's off.
He hates dolly shots.
I do.
And if not a sequel, maybe a spin-off about the Turd Spoon.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What is the inspiration for Turd Spoon?
Being broke and owning a turd spoon at one point in my life.
All right.
I do not currently have a turd spoon. The plumbing in my house is excellent, and I am grateful for that.
Yeah.
Fate has smiled upon you from
Yes.
a plumbing perspective.
Yeah. And so far, everyone is pro ass cover. I haven't seen any anti ass cover yet.
Well, I think we're playing to the ass cover crowd right now.
That is very true. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Take
our
that out
audience.
of this bubble.
That is definitely all right. Hashtag Turd Spoon forever. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. So you can get Driven on DVD or video on demand on Amazon and wherever you get your DVDs.
Glenn, somebody just texted me a question for you.
Oh, okay. Outside of the box. What's up?
Yeah, sorry. How is your Twitter friendship with Edgar Wright going?
Man, here's the thing. Edgar and I are hot and cold, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we do a cool video in England that you shoot.
Right.
You liked it because we were mimicking the long shot in Shaun of the Dead, where Casey did all the hard work. And he liked my tweet, and I was like, cool, we're kind of like, it's like we're married.
We're basically best friends now.
Yeah, we're best friends.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days ago, I just wrote, I was like, hey, what you working on, Edgar Wright? I need to watch something really cool. And he wrote back. He just was like, I'm working on this. And then nothing.
Look at you.
Crickets. I
And
tried
then-
to get him to watch our movie. I was like, cool. Also, check out this movie that we just made. And then nothing. Got nothing back.
Oh, wow.
We're going to keep working on it. We're going to keep working on it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, sirens, huh?
Chloe wants to know, what was your favorite scene to do together for Richard and
I'm gonna mute myself for a minute.
All right. They had
that is a
apparently.
cacophony of animal sounds over there.
Uh-huh.
Favorite scene to do together? That's hard to say. I really enjoyed, and I say it's hard to say because I just enjoyed the whole process. And again, it felt very much like doing a play. But I think I will say that one of my favorite scenes is when I'm in the back seat and we're just getting away from the cemetery, and we start talking about what we need to do, and then Casey and we get to the bottom of the Turd Spoon legacy.
Uh-huh.
And I think that scene is really fun. I won't go deep into it, but I think it's a fun back and forth between the characters and a nice moment that is, based on a serious event. There's sort of a tension to the beginning of it, and it becomes a very fun back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
That was a longer scene with the physicality, right? Where
I was in the back,
yeah,
from the front, yeah.
Was that?
I think that's
those
when
were
we're
all
leaving
your
the gas
ideas.
station.
What's that?
I think that
Yeah,
was
that's
leaving
after
the gas station.
That's after the gas, or was it one of the houses? The gas station?
The gas station.
Yeah, where he does
Is
this.
it in the gas station? Okay.
He does this number right here.
Hey, bud.
That right
Good.
there.
How you doing? Yeah, I think it was, but that was fun. It was a fun back and forth, and the blocking was fun, and it just made for an interesting sequence.
Mm-hmm. We talked before we went live about filming in Mississippi. And so what is like the film world in Mississippi like? Are there a lot of filmmakers?
There's more than you'd think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say a lot, but also I think probably more than people realize.
Yeah, it's a good scene. It's a good indie.
I can only speak to it as a guy who's, I've only been there to the festival a couple times, worked with these guys, but going to the festival twice, I was very impressed with how many people were there committed to doing good work and, screening good work. And if it wasn't, Mississippi, it was the surrounding area, and, there was an audience at the festivals. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just the filmmakers, it's the people who want to see indie film. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I always say on the show, because I'm a big festival guy, like wherever you are, there's probably some type of film community there, and you should try to seek them out. And either just go to the festivals when we can do festivals again, or if you were interested in working in movies or something. But there's a film community somewhere in your area.
Absolutely,
exactly.
Andrea wants to know what projects do all of you have in the works?
Man, it's a good question. There's something secret we've been working on, so that's what all I can say about that.
All right.
There's just sort of a no budget thing, and then we put up episode 4 of Stag Wrestle Paranormal, which we mentioned earlier. It's on Amazon, and it's a lot of fun. If you like to laugh or zany characters,
very anti-laughter.
Yeah, well, you're gonna hate it. And then, I don't know. I don't know what the next big movie is going to be. So kind of starting to maybe begin kicking around those ideas, I guess.
Yeah.
Yourself, Richard?
No clue.
Right,
no idea when production will come back. I got two episodes of Lucifer that I directed are coming out.
Oh, wow.
Lucifer season 5 drops in August. So I directed 2 episodes of that season. So some stuff I've worked on is about to come out. But barring that, I'm just not sure what's going to happen with productions and the industry itself. I did make a fun COVID music video for one of the...
It's always a weird statement. I made a fun COVID, and then I'm not sure where it's going from there.
It ended up being like this, like every band member shot their own stuff on an iPhone, sent it to me, and I cut it together. Yeah. So it was a fun sort of film project. It was so... Looking forward to getting that out there, but I'm going to delay that for a while till the temperature feels better. Until then, man, and it's just homeschooling and home camping and home everything.
Mm-hmm. Very good. All right. Well, there's been a ton of people here in the on the Facebook group, and like I said, all of them are pro ass. So and all of them seem to love the movie.
Well. Yeah. I like the fact that you're like, they seem to love the movie. We're not sure about the movie. They're real into bottoms, but we're not. They're on the fence about the film.
Well, we'll ask everyone to review the film on IMDb, Amazon.
Yeah, because that is a big help to independent film is people not just talking about them, but also reviewing them.
And tell your friends. And if they ask to borrow your copy, say no. Get your own.
But I'd say I'm saying what Casey says. Recommend it, if you like the movie, recommend it to your buddies, especially in this time period where so many people are consuming so much entertainment online. The more you can recommend movies that matter to you and that matter to the filmmakers, the better off it is for your friends who will enjoy the movie and for the filmmakers. So word of mouth is a powerful tool, and social media is a powerful tool. So we'd appreciate you using it.
Yeah.
Very good.
I have a question for everyone. Apart from Driven, what has your favorite quarantine show or movie been that you've discovered and watched while in this time?
It's an interesting question.
I watched Devs. Did you guys see that on Hulu?
The movie?
Okay. Yeah, it's a series.
Oh, okay.
Yes. It's by one of my favorite movies a couple years ago was Ex Machina, and it's by the same guy who wrote and directed Ex Machina, wrote and directed this entire series. Okay. And it's on Hulu, and it's really good. So I recommend that. DEVS, Devs. Really good.
Okay.
DVS. Okay, gotcha.
Casey, I think probably Sex Education for me, I guess.
Yeah.
Series on
what shows have you been watching?
Doing a lot of stuff.
Look, Glenn's... what's funny is Casey will back me up on this. Glenn's incredibly dirty, but he plays it off well by being kind of the all shucks guy.
Mm-hmm.
But Lord have mercy. I mean, I've worked with him, and it's a locker room.
Well, I'm playing an ass cover for a Blu-ray. I don't even remember the original. I've forgotten the original reference.
Richard referred to himself as that ass on the cover, and then I asked if you had released the ass cover yet.
That's what it was.
Nice. Yeah, you can't write that stuff, except for sometimes you do.
But yeah, you guys should watch Sex Education.
Y'all got to calm down.
pretty.
You talking to Glenn and me, or
I'm talking to my dogs.
Same thing.
I'm about to get canceled because I'm taking them to the pound when this is over. Not really. I love my dogs. They're just crazy making right now.
Trista,
I'm gonna have to sign off because I've got some kids getting out of their summer studies. So
that sounds good.
All right. Go parent. But
thank you
for having us on here. Thanks for letting us talk about the movie. This is another great way to get word of the movie out to people. And we appreciate any retweeting, Facebooking, Instagramming, whatever else you want to do, and reviewing would be great. Thanks, guys. Take care. Stay safe. Thank y'all. Thanks for having me. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Before we wrap up quick, Trista, did you have something that you discovered on?
We've actually both been listening to If It Bleeds, which is Stephen King's new book. It's my first audiobook, and I really.
Oh yeah, I was like, I know that name, but I couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen King. You might have heard of him.
Yeah. And look, we're low budget starting out folks, so we like to support other people in the same boat as us. So we'll give that upstart a read.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of audiobooks because I walk a lot and it gives me something to listen to.
Have either of you read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Vampire Slaying?
I have not.
I think I recommend it, but it's very stressful. So,
and a fun, possibly indie vampire film everyone should check out. It's called From the Dark. If you haven't seen, I call it the Irish vampire movie. Maybe I have the wrong.
Oh wow.
The right country there. Hopefully.
Yeah. And it's not just like one thing, but I do want to, because Trista and I also been watching a lot of the shorts from the upcoming Sick and Wrong Film Festival. It's coming up. It's going to be virtual this year. Yeah. And we're going to have a bunch of the people on next week, but really amazing shorts, like a lot of creativity and really diverse stuff. Like there's some really silly stuff that I like, and then some really serious stuff that I also like. So I would recommend Sick and Wrong Film Festival. They have a good collection of weird shorts.
Cool.
Yeah. So anyway, and everyone's thanking us for doing this. We'll thank everyone for watching.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah, this is awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Oh, and real quick too, can I ask one more question? Are you both interested in paranormal investigation? I know you do the show. Or...
Yeah,
you go ahead.
I was going to say we have friends who have a group that do a lot of investigating, and there's a lot of other groups in our areas, but one just happens to be a really good friend.
Right.
Casey, you've gone on.
I went on a couple at the Arts Center where we perform improv, the Link Center here in Tupelo, because it's been pretty active a lot over the years. It's really interesting stuff, but I feel like you get you have more weird interactions the less people there are. So I guess I am probably more interested in just like going to creepy and potentially haunted locations. But yeah, our friends Josh and his crew like lend us all the ghost hunting gear that we use on the show. So what y'all see is like real stuff. And they have some interesting stories. So.
We talked about doing stuff like over the years of going to locations that are, sort of known to be very active or haunted with the actors, the rest of the squad and stuff, and doing some cool things like that. But in the end, just filming it and doing the typical normal filmmaking elements kind of is something you barely tend to get done. So it ends up kind of consuming all the energy that we have.
Yeah. Trista does paranormal investigation out in L.A.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually, speaking of indie films, we just watched
Followed.
Yeah, which is out in drive-ins now, which is about a paranormal investigation at the Cecil Hotel, which is a famous haunted hotel in LA.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool movie. It's currently #1 at the drive-in. So
At the drive-in.
Yeah.
Wow.
all because they came on Without Your Head.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, man, we'll show the drive-in.
Yeah. It's really weird to plug a movie at the drive-in. I never done.
Yeah, just hearing that phrase, there's got a trip.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, this has been very cool, and thanks for doing this again. And it'll be good to have you guys back next time. When #2 comes out, or Turd Spoon, or the ass cover, or whatever.
No driven sequels.
All right. Tandem bike riding.
Maybe an ass cover. We'll see.
All right. Fair enough.
Again.
All right,
Thank you. It's good to meet you and good to see you again, Neal.
Thank you as well. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, this is John Duggan, and you're watching WithoutYourHead.com.